Hello and welcome to Into the Woods with Holly Wharton. This podcast is all about our journey into the woods of ourselves, getting to know who we are, and where we're going in life so that we can create the life that we want to live. It's about deepening your connection with yourself, taking inspired action, and really trusting yourself and your intuition. It's also about mindset. Our beliefs are such an important part of this journey, and there are so many ways for us to change our mindset so that we can more easily live a life of expansive joy. This podcast is also about going literally into the woods and spending time in nature, and how that can help us on our own personal journey of self-knowledge. Thank you so much for joining us today. Now let's get into this week's episode. Hello, adventurers, and welcome to the Into the Woods podcast, episode 415. This is your host, Holly Wharton, and I'm back with another exciting guest. This week, we talk about a very different kind of adventure. I'm super excited to share this with you. So this week's guest is Anna Wood. Like many of my guests, I first discovered her on Instagram, and I've been following her for a while. And I've been super inspired by her practice of mindful sea swimming. So years ago when I lived in Mexico, I was a big sea swimmer. I used to swim in the sea every morning. But since I moved to England, that never occurred to me. And yet, I have a few friends who are avid sea swimmers. So because most of my adventures take place on land, and because I feel like I'm very connected to the land here, and to the trees and the plants and the trails, I've been increasingly interested in exploring water adventures like sea swimming. I often forget that I live on an island, and then every once in a while I'll go to the coast and it's like, this is closer than I thought. Why don't I come here more often? And sea swimming just keeps coming into my awareness lately. I don't know what it is, but I keep being aware of these friends that do sea swimming. So in this episode, we talk all about sea swimming, but more as a mindfulness exercise than a physical exercise, which I found really interesting because when I lived in Mexico and when I was swimming in the sea, it was like swimming in bath water. It was really comfortable, and sometimes it was too hot. Like in the summer, the water was actually uncomfortably warm, which is not a problem that you have here in Britain. It's a very different experience. And so I could be in the water for a long time, and I would get in the water and I would swim parallel to the shore, but I could go quite a ways. So it was very, very different from the experience here. So as I said, in this episode, we talk about sea swimming more as a mindfulness exercise, as a meditation. And we discuss the mental, emotional, and physical benefits of sea swimming. And Anna shares how to get started wherever you live. So she gives you kind of tips that you can apply to wherever you are in the world, assuming you have a coast nearby. So I hope this episode inspires you, if not to consider sea swimming, to consider new types of adventures. So if you are a very land-based adventurer, what could you do in the water or in the air? There are other things out there, and I'm starting to kind of open up my mind to that. So this is helping me see new possibilities, and I hope it will do the same for you. So who is Anna Wood? Anna Neubert-Wood is director and founder of WanderWomen Scotland Limited, facilitator of outdoor experiences with a mix of adventure, survival skills, and mindfulness, inspiring women to find adventure in nearby surrounds, encouraging them to press the pause button, to slow down and take some time for reflection and self-care. She enjoys taking small groups of women into nature, creating community and facilitating healing, whether it's in the sea, in the woods, or walking barefoot and letting the grass tickle your toes. Born and raised in East Germany, she has now lived in London and Edinburgh for longer than half her life, and made that deep-rooted craving for freedom and escape, stemming from growing up in a politically suppressed country, her life mission with WanderWomen, empowering women to own their own adventure. So, this is a great conversation. I can't wait to share this with you. What will you learn in today's conversation? We discuss what is mindful sea swimming and how to get started. How sea swimming can serve as a type of meditation. Life lessons you can learn from the sea. How sea swimming can help you embrace seasonal living. Things you need to know before you get into sea swimming. Why breath work is an important part of sea swimming. And not just when you're in the water breathing, but when you're getting into the water. And finally, what a regular sea swimming practice can look like. So I hope you find this episode interesting and useful, and I hope it opens your mind to new adventures. Good morning. How are you?
Hi, Holly. I'm really well, thank you.
I'm really excited to talk to you about this because this is such a different topic to what I normally talk about. Most of my adventures that I discuss are kind of land-based adventures rather than water-based adventures.
It's all about the nature immersion, isn't it? Whether you do it on land or in the sea.
It is. But I'm realizing that for the last probably 10 or 15 years of my life, I've been very land-focused. So I'm kind of starting to get curious about doing other things. So I'm really looking forward to this.
Nice.
So, you're a sea swimmer. How did you get into sea swimming?
How did I get into sea swimming? Well, I grew up in East Germany, and for my parents, it was every body of water that they would go into, whether it was a river or the sea or a lake. They would just try them all out. That's how I grew up. In East Germany, which was a politically suppressed country until 98. So people were very suppressed and didn't have much freedom. And my theory is that the swimming was freedom, meant freedom to them, but also the nude culture was very big. And I think that was just the ultimate freedom, the 2 fingers to the system, you know. Yeah, I grew up into my teenage years and I thought, oh, what is this all about? This is really uncomfortable. Then clearly I moved to Britain and the nudism wasn't a thing at all. It was so, yes, I distanced myself from all of that, from swimming as well as the nudism. And then, having my own children and having them teach me about mindfulness and connecting to the land and finding wonder and stopping, resting, reflecting and playing. That brought me back into the sea, really. We are all so busy, and going into the sea for me is de-stressing, is leaving all the day-to-day pressures behind and focusing on my breath and just really loving being held by the sea. And the sea just always seems to be there and, goes through cycles just as we do as women. There's just so many lessons in there and so many similarities, which is something that I really love exploring, and every day is different and there's a new message every day in the sea to me. Yeah.
To making so many notes as I'm talking to you because there's so many threads that I want to pick up. I really love what you said about swimming being freedom. And for me, adventure is all about freedom, whether it's, getting outdoors or going on a hike or a run or whatever, or for you swimming. I really feel that one of the biggest things that adventure gives me is a sense of freedom.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. And again, that doesn't matter whether you're on land, in the air or in the water. Yeah, it's that leaving things behind, the putting things into perspective, letting go of to-do lists and just being with your body and realizing that your body is enough and has so much capacity and capability, and we're so strong, really. I think being out in nature makes you realize that.
Absolutely. And I really like what you said about being in our bodies, which are strong and they take us places and help us do things like swimming or other things. And I think for so many years, I've been so critical of my body. It was never good enough. It never looked good enough, or, all the pressures of society that we get from the media and all that crap. And I feel like I'm finally shifting into an appreciation of what my body can do and where it can take me, and the adventures and the play and the fun and the freedom that it gives me. And of course, not everyone, there are people with disabilities, and not everyone has that level of freedom that I have. And that's really made me realize how much I value my health and my well-being and just the physical capabilities of my body.
Absolutely. Isn't it just so empowering to get to let go of all the messages that we're fed by the media and society. Yeah, body image is such a big thing. When people come to me, they are very anxious about stripping off at the beach. And such a powerful thing, though, to peel back all these layers of society, not just physical layers of clothing, but the layers of anxiety and stress that we're put upon by the messaging that is out there, and just letting go of preconceptions, not giving a damn about people seeing our bodies, not worrying about showing scars or showing fat. It's all part of us, and it's all there to help us too. Bigger bodies they're able to stay in the water much longer.
Oh yes, because they're warmer.
Yes, and there's an advantage to hairy legs too. It's just so bonding to strip off with strangers at a busy beach with probably judgmental looks, but the sea teaches me not to worry about anyone else, to just rely on my own self. And I tell people to go into the sea even when it's cold, with the mantra, you're stronger than you think. And that applies to so many aspects of the swimming, to the cold, to the getting undressed, to everything. We are so much stronger, and we should all be so grateful for every inch of our bodies that we have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love what you said about how we're stronger than we think. And I think that's one thing that adventure gives me is, every time I go out and I do something different and I get out of my comfort zone, it gives me kind of an awareness of that strength that I have, not just physical strength, but mental and emotional strength. Because to do these things, to have these adventures, it does require a certain amount of strength and a certain amount of confidence in ourselves to even step outside of our comfort zone.
That's it. Yeah. And we have our breath that helps us so much. Just tuning into the body, into the breath, gives us all that we need, really. And that also leads me, if you want to talk about it, into lessons of anti-consumerism. When it comes to the outdoors, there's so much messaging as well that we need all the gear, all the equipment to be safe and to be seen and to be doing it properly, when actually that is, again, all messaging from society and marketing to us. In fact, we have everything we need in this. I go in my bikini all year through into the North Sea.
Wow.
And our body is made to withstand that. It's a mind over matter thing. We are so strong. We don't need wetsuits. We don't need gloves, shoes, hats. Yes, all these things make it all easier and make us maybe stay in longer, or with the mountain equipment or land adventures. Yes, there's things that make it easier, but do we actually need them? It's just nice to ask that question. Is what we're buying just feeding our ego or feeding the capitalism, or can we just make do with what we've got already, because we've all got wardrobes that are way too full stuff.
Absolutely.
We all own too much, and it's nice to be prompted with these questions when we go outdoors.
I absolutely agree with you. And I was just thinking the other day about, I used to be into hiking and long distance walking, and I still am, but over the last year I've gotten more into trail running rather than walking. And theoretically, all you need is a pair of running shoes. And I realize how much stuff I've bought, especially in the last 6 months, to make my running easier. But it's been an investment, and it's been a fair amount of money. And I've just been realizing over the last few days, like, how much I've been kind of spending on this hobby of mine, and how much of it was necessary. Like, maybe I could have made do with some older stuff that I had, so it's definitely something I've been reflecting on lately.
Interesting, isn't it? How, we're made to feel that we're not doing it properly if we don't have the right gear, which is sad. Our bodies are brilliant, and we've got so much. I feel like the last year and a half with the pandemic as well has been a lot about stripping back to the basics in terms of lots of it, relationships, stuff we own. Yeah, just minimizing things, trusting ourselves more rather than getting more and owning more. What does that give us? Our body and our health is really all we need, and that's what the last year has really taught me.
Yeah, I've had so many conversations with friends about how over the last year they've been able to save so much money because they weren't going out to eat or going on holidays or going out and doing stuff. And so that's allowed them to save a lot of money. And then conversely, I've had conversations with other friends who have spent a lot of money buying stuff to try to make their time at home more comfortable. So I think we've all kind of gone in different ways on this.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
So getting back to the sea swimming, what is mindful sea swimming or sea swimming as meditation?
So for me, swimming isn't about, or wild swimming isn't about exercise. It's about slowing down. So I'm not a very strong swimmer myself. I don't like in the sea going out of my depth, but feeling it all. I think that's what mindfulness is to me. Just feeling it all, feeling the cold with every inch of my body and letting it empower me. Feeling my small toes, when they go numb, and really appreciating now I've got them and the jobs that they do for me. And being in the water, being open to lessons that the sea gives us, that it's always there. And one day it might be very wild and angry, and the next day it might be very calm and serene. And that leads me back into mental health. These are all feelings, and they're reflected back to us by the sea. And it's all okay. It's okay to have really wild and angry and anxious and stressful days.
Yeah.
It's all temporary. The next day might be really calm, serene, and lovely. But it can't always be the same all the time. I think that's one big lesson. Yes, the mindfulness in sea swimming is being open to everything that the sea can give us. Yeah, but also being able to give back to the sea. And with every new person that I introduce to sea swimming, mindful sea swimming, I feel I am creating another ambassador of the sea who will look after the sea with us, with the growing community of sea swimmers.
I love that. And I used to guide women's walking groups, and I absolutely felt like that. Like I was kind of being an ambassador of the trails and the outdoors. And there were so many times where we'd be out on a walk and women would say, "Oh, this is so beautiful." These women didn't go on walks in between the walks with me. So sadly, it wasn't like I was getting them to go outdoors on their own, but at least they were coming out with me and they were seeing things and experiencing things that they weren't normally doing on their own. And I feel like that I was kind of being an ambassador of the trails in the same way that you're doing that with the sea. I love that.
Yeah. It is beautiful to be able to facilitate that and have, women to commit to themselves and women to be accountable, even if they don't go out by themselves in between for these walks, but to come with you, to trust you, and to let you guide them, which is a beautiful thing.
So what are some of the other lessons that you've learned from the sea?
What are they? Well, everything in nature is connected. There's the big moon in the sky, and if it has so much power over the sea that it can move from the high tides into low tides, then we are made of 80% water, and we are moved by the moon. And it's just that tuning in, the intuitive part of us, the trust in nature that we are, if the sea is not okay and looked after, we're not okay. If we're not okay and look after ourselves, then the sea and nature isn't going to be okay. They're all intertwined. If we look after our own mental health and well-being, then we're more likely and more open to looking after this planet. And it is just a cycle. If the planet is not okay, we're not going to be okay. And the planet, the nice and the sad thing all at once, the planet will be okay. We won't be.
Yeah. We'll be gone.
Nature is strong and resilient. And that's what we need to learn. We need to learn to be strong and resilient in ways that are sustainable. At the moment, life on this planet isn't sustainable the way we are. But the more we immerse ourselves, the more we are open to learning resilience and beauty and seasonality and slowing down and trusting. There's so many lessons in the land and the sea. I'm sure you will agree.
There's so many of the things that you're saying. I'm like, yep. I say these things to myself, but in relation to my relationship with the trees and the trails. So I absolutely love everything that you're saying. So what has the sea taught you about cycles and seasonality and seasonal living?
like I said before, summer is a time of high energy, of being out there, of light and joy. And that's a season, that's half of the year.
Yeah.
Well, in Scotland, it's not even half of the year, but it's a time of the year of really embracing life and being out there, being energetic. In contrast to that, winter is all about slowing down and about resting and sleeping. These really light midsummer days that we're going through right now, I don't sleep very well. I'm so early because of the light. And it just shows us how solar powered we are, how in the winter the seasons are asking for us to sleep more. With the darkness, it's fine. Some people beat themselves up that they feel lazy and too comfortable and too sleepy in the winter, but that's what it's all about, because we need to rest in order for it to be energetic in the summer again.
Yeah. I think we're so used to just pushing, like every day, every week, every month, all year round. And so we feel like we have to be productive. I struggle with this too. I mean, in the winter, I kind of naturally feel like I want to slow down, and I'm aware of that. And I kind of rebel against it. So how do you embrace this?
Again, it's society demanding of us that we're always on and always at the top of our game.
Yes.
And that leads to stress and anxiety. That's why we're all so ill.
Exactly.
And I feel you as well, probably, we went into this January lockdown, and I felt it came so much easier to me to be locked down in winter because, hey, we are here to rest. What is the whole thing about New Year resolution and being on top of your game with goals and everything in January? Going back after a short Christmas break, being all recovered and ready to go again early January. It's so wrong. So it felt much more natural to keep that pause, to keep resting throughout the winter months, to enjoy the season like it was meant to be originally, before all the commercialism and capitalism and society and expectations took over.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting reflection on the lockdown, because for me, kind of, it was partly easier to be in lockdown in the winter compared to our first lockdown in the summer. But because it was the third lockdown, it got really difficult for me. So I was really kind of struggling with it. But I think you're absolutely right. From an energetic standpoint, it was much easier.
Yes, and I do appreciate it was the hardest lockdown for many people, that winter lockdown. But yes, from a seasonal, I think, if there was something to be adjusted in society, it would be a longer winter break and just allowing ourselves to rest and embrace that dark season with cozy days, woolly jumpers, fires, and books and sleep.
Sounds like heaven.
Yeah, that's what we need in the winter. And we let working life take over and let the pressures take over and keep going on with that unhealthy cycle, really, rather than listening into our bodies of what it is that we really need. Yeah.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So for someone who might be looking to get into sea swimming, what are some things that they need to know? Because I think I mentioned to you in my email that when I lived in Mexico years ago, I used to swim in the sea every morning. But I knew what the dangers were. Like, I knew I had to watch out for, tides weren't a problem, but I had to watch out for barracudas and not wear sparkly jewelry, for example. And I needed to, when I was coming out of the sea, I needed to look before I put my foot down because there were stingrays and you could step on them and they would sting you. So like, I knew what the dangers were, but here I don't know. So that really scares me. So what are some things that people need to know?
It's very good to know your location, where you go into the sea or into a river or into a loch. If you're doing it for the first time, to go with someone who knows the area, the location, who's experienced. Is really helpful to have an experienced buddy with you. Yeah, who you can lean on with questions. I suppose cold showers is a practice that can lead up to cold water immersion, especially in the winter. And it's a lot about trusting your body, that you're strong. I can't remember what the book was called, but it talked about environmental conditioning, how we are designed to be safe and designed to be able to withstand hot and cold. And nowadays we're so cotton balled into the waterproof clothing and the warm offices and homes that we are never really cold or never really hot. We still complain.
Yes,
but the actual extremes we are not used to anymore. So just being aware of that, just trusting your body that you don't need much, just deep breathing. Breathing really helps with going into cold water. It's like breathing in yoga, and I'm sure lots of people can relate to that. When you're going into a tricky position, yoga pose, that you breathe out, you relax into the pose, because the breath out sends signals to your brain that you're in control, that it's okay to relax, that you're safe. That's what the breath out does. And that's the same thing with the sea swimming. Stepping into cold water makes you hyperventilate. So that's the breath in.
Oh.
Yeah. So we want to consciously breathe out and whether it's the conscious breathing, whether it's screaming, whether it's swearing, that's all allowed, because it's all category breathing. And that really, really helps. The breath is amazing. It gets us through pain, through stress, and so much more. So the breathing is a good tool.
Yeah, it is. And it's something that I always forget about. I mean, I tend to have the tendency to, like, when I'm in pain or in a tricky situation, I tend to kind of go,
hold your breath.
And then hold my breath.
Yeah.
And then I forget about that. But this breathing keeps coming up in conversation lately for the last couple of weeks with people. And what I've learned, I think, is that longer out breath activates your parasympathetic nervous system. And that can help calm you down.
That's it. That's exactly it. It's these simple things, right? I think there's such a big trend to connecting to the simplicity in life, connecting back to the weeds. And, you know, there is medicine all around us, and the breath is the biggest tool that we own. And why do we forget about it so often? Why do we need reminded of the simplest things? But awareness is rising, so that's a good thing.
Yes. Oh, I love what you said. I loved what you said about using breath to kind of acclimatize to the cold.
Yeah.
So are there any other things people need to know? Do you ever swim alone, or do you not recommend that?
In the winter, I will always go with someone. Just for security. And like when you take up running, your body won't be able to do as much on the first day as on the 10th day. So like with running, the swimming, you should start very slowly. Don't get too comfortable too quickly, because your body needs to learn the sensations, and you need to learn to listen to the sensations and signals that your body sends you. So taking it slow, just a couple of minutes to start off with, and then a little bit longer the next day and a little bit longer than the following day. There's a rule of thumb that says whatever the degree of the water is, that's how many minutes you can stay in safely. So if the water is 10 degrees, then you're safe for 10 minutes.
Interesting.
That's something to bear in mind. And that doesn't mean that you should push yourself for 10 minutes on the first day, but that's just you're fine. Also, the signs of hypothermia. The first sign of that is that you feel actually quite warm when the sea is quite cold. So that's what I mean about getting too comfortable. If you're suddenly feeling really comfortable and it was really hard and cold going in, then that's probably the first sign that you should get out. So, not getting too comfortable.
And probably doing some research on other signs of hypothermia, because I think a lot of people might not be aware of what they are.
That's it, yes. It's an important thing to keep in mind, definitely.
And I think that goes for all kinds of outdoor adventures, like whether you're on land or on sea or anywhere.
To be aware of the risks, absolutely, yes. Not to be scared by them, but to be aware.
And becoming aware and doing some research and learning, I think that helps take away some of the fear as well, because you learn, okay, this is what I need to look out for, and this is what I need to do in that situation. So you're informed rather than afraid.
That's it, yes.
What about currents and tides? How do you learn those?
Yeah, again, that's experience. Going with someone who knows the area. Riptides are something that happens, and it's not scary when you're in it and don't know how to get out of it. But learning about tides is really interesting too. Again, nothing to panic about. It's keeping breathing and keeping calm. Those are the key to everything, really, that is nature and water related. And everything, there's a solution to everything, but you can't think straight when you're panicky.
Absolutely.
So to be calm and breathe, that's when your mind, when your brain is able to find solutions. And yeah, every place is different. Some beaches are sandy, some are rocky, some have, tides are different.
Yeah.
I find in the winter, especially, it's easiest to go into the sea at high tide, just because submersion is quicker, rather than having to walk for miles and not being able to go under. But again, you have to do your own research in your own location.
Of course.
Find a swimming group. There's more and more swimming groups out there. And I'm sure wherever you are in the country, just try and link up with someone experienced near you.
And are there any dangerous fish that people need to be aware of here? That's where my mind first goes, just because of where I used to see swim.
Of course, by the sounds of it, British waters seem very safe.
Oh, that's good.
By comparison. We've just had jellyfish season, which is something that I don't like. I just don't like brushing against anything, but they are not dangerous. Most of them, good. The blue moon jellies, they are not dangerous. They give you a sting just like a nettle would do. And what you do is you rinse it with seawater, then you rinse it with fresh water, and with a credit card you can sort of brush out any stings that are still in the skin, and antihistamines if you react badly to it.
Oh, that's easy.
But there's lion mane jellyfish, the red ones, and they are huge, and you want to look out for them, but I've not seen that many over the years. And maybe the south of England is different.
Yeah, probably.
But again, just link up with someone who knows.
Yes. So what does an average sea swim look like to you? Like, how far offshore are you going? Are you swimming parallel to the shore? Are you swimming straight out? What are you doing?
Yeah, I swim parallel to the shore. I don't go out of my depth necessarily. In the winter, I've got my woolly hat on. I do old lady style swim. And I do like to fully submerge with head under as well, just for that all body tingle. And apparently also it gets all the blood into your scalp, and it really helps with hair loss, hair growth, just with the skin being stimulated by the cold. It's really good for you on many levels.
And how deep is the water where you're swimming?
It's a very shallow bay that I swim in.
Okay.
So it's shallow and lovely for a long way before it gets really deep.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Because I think that's one of the things that scares me. It's like there's so many places where it's shallow, 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 and then all of a sudden, boom, it just like goes deep.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a little bit scared of depths. So, I do like to stay within my comfort zone in that way.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
So can we talk a little bit more about the benefits of cold water? Are you aware of some of the other things that it can do for your body?
So when it comes to mental health, it's like a kick up the butt. Lots of people with anxiety and depression come and tell me that it really helps them because it makes them feel alive like nothing else. It makes them feel appreciative and happy and leaves them on a natural high like nothing else. It actually gets compared to Class A drugs, which I can't testify myself, but yes, it's the cheapest drug out there, and it's the cheapest therapy for anything.
Yeah.
You know, you can go into the sea with a hangover and it will clear your head. You can go into the sea with heartache and it will make you feel that little bit better. Everything that you carry into the sea, you guaranteed to come out cleansed and happy. I always come out with a smile, always feel good, however anxious or stressed I might go in to the sea. So there's weight loss benefits in cold water submersion. We as adults have white fat on our body. The white fat content is very high. Compared to babies and compared to animals that live outdoors, outside, that have brown fat. Brown fat has the job to keep you safe. It makes sense with babies who can't go for a run to get warm. So that's why they've got the baby chub that they grow out of. But the more they learn to move, the more they get rid of that baby chubbiness. But that's brown fat compared to adult white fat. And by cold water submersion, we can turn the white fat into brown fat. So white fat makes us fat, but turning it into brown fat makes us stay warm. So that's why your sensation of cold changes over time. It's worth looking into. Sorry, I might not be explaining this properly.
No, I'm going to be Googling this because this is really interesting. I'm aware of like subcutaneous fat versus like intraorganal fat, but I'm not sure which is white and which is brown and how that works.
Yeah, look into it. Give it a little Google search. So yes, so there's mental health benefits. There is weight loss benefits. There's increased libido, apparently.
Oh.
There is so much stress-reducing benefits. It's good for body and soul and the mind, definitely. Yeah.
And do you live right on the coast, or do you have to travel a bit to get to the shore?
I do live right by the sea, and it's always been my dream. I grew up in land-locked down East Germany, and I've always dreamt of living one day by the sea. Now I've got my husband and my 2 teen boys, and I live by the sea. You would think I'm living the dream.
And does the rest of your family like the sea as well, or are they a bit more cautious?
They don't go in, and they don't really appreciate it. But they're teenagers, and
they've got other things to do.
Yes, yeah. The one day they will appreciate it. I'm not sure.
But you're planting the seeds. I mean, you're serving as an example. So at some point in the future, maybe they won't get into sea swimming, but maybe they'll get into, I don't know, so some other outdoorsy thing.
Yeah. I think just the benefit of being by an open space and having the big sky. And I think that's why lots of people over lockdown have been drawn to sea swimming, just because of all that space, of all the sky. The wide expanse of water was freedom compared to the extreme of being locked down. It was the one safe space where we could be. And so the benefits, whether you appreciate it or not, it will have some positive impact on your life and on your well-being. Yeah.
And so have you noticed an uptake of people kind of doing sea swimming and participating in that?
Absolutely. It's booming. It's incredible. Wow. People have really realized how, it's that nature connection, that coming back to basics. It's a free thing to do, and it's such a powerful thing to do. And why not go into the sea and put up with a little bit of pain and get so much joy out of it? It's like with childbirth, I think. It's very comparable, the two. And it shows you how closely linked pain and joy are. And it's that going through the hard bits in order to really appreciate the high and the lovely feeling afterwards.
I love it. You're starting to convince me. I don't live very near the sea, but it's just the concept of sea swimming just kind of keeps coming into my awareness little by little, and it's kind of piquing my interest. So
I can't wait to hear. You're calling me up one day saying, "I've done it."
So tell me about WanderWomen Scotland. What is that, and what do you do?
I take small groups of women into nature. For a mix of mindfulness and adventure. So there'll be meditation and yoga, as well as fire making and camping.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's what WanderWomen is about in Edinburgh and around.
Oh, nice. And how did that get started? What was the inspiration?
It started with my sea swimming, definitely. Just watching the community grow and more friends and family coming to me for an introduction to the sea made me think, do you know what, there is an idea in here, and it's not all about the sea swimming, but it's about so much more. It's about forest bathing and just slowing down, noticing, being inspired by my own children, of playing and picking up things and finding wonder in nature, and making do with sticks rather than toys. And it's the same for adults, really. We need to play more. We need to slow down more and be without our phones and to-do lists. So,
That's the good thing about sea swimming. You can't bring your phone in the water.
Oh, don't get me started on this. There's so many people that go into the sea just for the selfie with a phone.
Really?
It drives me mad. And that's another whole other discussion and conversation about well-being. Where does well-being start and where does it end? Because as soon as you've got a screen in your hand and you're taking a photo, you're just not doing it for yourself anymore. You're taking a photo for someone else to prove something. And I recently...
or maybe you're inspiring someone else to go into the sea. There's always that side of it.
There is, yes. Thanks for looking at the positive side there. But I have started taking phones off women for the length of the experience of WanderWomen. And it's something that is really appreciated.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Just the disconnecting from devices.
I think a lot of people find it hard to give themselves permission to disconnect from devices, but if someone else makes you do it, then that kind of makes it easier.
Yeah, probably. Yes, we all need to be guided. That's right.
So tell me about Seaweeds and Sea Swimming event. I saw that on your website and it sounded really fun.
Yeah, that's a collaboration with a friend and colleague of mine who forages wild foods. And did you know that around Britain, every seaweed is edible?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, you can go around, get yourself away from any nearby cities, but you can go and pick not the seaweed that is been washed up and is lying on the beach, but if you go to where it grows, you can have a safe nibble. And it's incredible how different all these seaweeds taste. It's very surprising. And since knowing and since learning about seaweeds, I am less scared of stepping into seaweeds.
They feel gross sometimes.
Yes, that is a big fear of swimmers. But knowing about them and knowing that you can eat it all and that we all should be eating more seaweed because there's so much nutrition in it. And it's clearly all a case of preparing it right as well. Yeah. But it's so wonderful to learn about what goes on in the sea and what grows and how nutritious all the stuff is in the sea. I think lots of us are in denial about when it comes to food and the sea and even pollution and the sea. When we see litter on land, it's something visible and real and we can pick it up. But all the microplastics in the sea, we're in denial about, I think, and we need to bring that more to attention of people's minds, that just because we don't see it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. You know? And learning more about food that we can get in the sea, clearly not over fish or over harvest. As soon as it's commercialized, then that's damaging too. But just to be aware and learn, and there's so much to learn, so much that we can't see and can't grasp and can't understand. But it's so good to learn and explore and be led by playful exploration and the experts that know about how to prepare the right things with seaweed or wild foods. Yeah, it's so enriching. And the more we learn, the more we care.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And the more we experience, the more we care. Yeah. Because once you develop a relationship with the land or with the sea, it gives you a different level of respect because it's kind of like a friend now rather than just this thing that's there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So you also do mindful sea swimming coaching. How does that work?
It's because it's been so popular, the sea swimming.
I love that.
I just, thought, why not offer that as well? And people come to me from all over the world. I offer it through Airbnb experiences, and I get all sorts of visitors that are in Edinburgh and want to try out something different. So they come to me for mindful sea swimming, and that includes a little walk on the beach. That includes some meditation and silent walking before we chat about how to go into the sea, lots of breathing exercises, and then I take them for their 3 or 4 minute swim, and their life suddenly seems much clearer and they're so happy, and it's incredible how moods can change simply by going into the sea and noticing the differences inside your body and your moods and your well-being. Everyone, people come to me very scared and anxious and always leave very happy. It's so lovely to see.
That's so lovely. You might see me up in your part of the world someday. Teach me how to sea swim.
Yeah.
So, Anna, where can people find you online?
You can find WanderWomen on social media, on Instagram and Facebook. The handle is at WanderWomen Scotland. WanderWomen is spelled with an A, so WanderWomen Scotland. So that's a bit confusing, but there you go. And the website is wander-women.co.uk.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us today. I really, really love talking to you about sea swimming.
Thank you, Holly. I really enjoyed it too.
Oh, good. All right. So hopefully this will encourage people to get into sea swimming wherever they live, if they live near the coast, and connect with the sea in some way.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So that's all for this week. Please drop me a line and let me know what you thought of this week's episode. You can email me at holly@hollywharton.com or find me online and get in touch. Thank you so much for listening. And if you enjoyed this episode, please leave a quick review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. It would mean the world to me. Thank you so much for listening. And next week's episode, I think, will be about my ultra that I'm running this weekend. Maybe, maybe not. It seems a bit indulgent to do a whole episode on it, so that depends on what I have learned from the experience, and I won't know that until this weekend. So, might be that, or it might be another guest that I'm speaking with today. So, that's all for now. Who knows what I'll be talking about next week? It's one or the other. And remember to visit hollywharton.com/415 for the show notes on this episode. Happy trails to you. Thanks so much for listening to Into the Woods with Holly Wharton. You can find more information about today's episode, including links for topics that were discussed, at hollywharton.com. That's HOLLYWORTON.com. If you'd like to connect with other listeners and get support on your journey, I would love for you to join my private community on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Holly Wharton. That's patreon.com/Holly Wharton. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to seeing you next week.